Hello everyone, I hope you can hear me well and back. This is our third webinar since we started, and I'm glad that we have you followers coming to live stream. So what's the benefits of that? You can ask your questions and be answered right away. It's always to say hi, and that makes me feel very special that I'm here a Thursday in my studio working for hours and hours to get ready for you, just to help you to learn how to paint, how to see beauty around, and what colors and how all harmony need to be followed in your perception, your ideas, your process, and in final painting. So most of you already know, and you've seen in that kind of like a screenshot that we're going to paint winter. Few states this week already got snow, and we had just few flakes in Connecticut, so nothing like that. So we'll be painting a view from Kalinowska's farm surrounding in Connecticut in Watertown. It's just like I think 10 minutes away from where I live, and I'm very lucky to be able to see this view. But this is not farm view. You just can see by fence that's the farm. So today is the last day of calendar fall. It's November 30th. Tomorrow is December 1st. And last month of the year is starting. So obviously all Christmas preparations, etc. I was working hard in my studio, actually not much on painting, except of what I did yesterday and today for this webinar, but on preparing my studio for VIP live classes. I think if you spend money on VIP class rather than coming like in a bigger group, it depends on your needs, of course. You can learn much more, and you will save on housing because you don't need to come for a week or for 3 days unless you live nearby. I will make a special video about that. I posted on Instagram a few shots of how 3 easels look and stand together, and I'm still almost done with my studio cleanup. I got a new carpet there, so it would be exciting video. Maybe I'll include it for the next time, next week, next Thursday, 7 p.m. I hope we all stay healthy, and you and me all together can enjoy online, enjoy internet actually, because internet causes troubles to us, but it could be a helpful tool. And I'm glad those who are right now watching it can watch it from any part of the world, right? That's very cool. So I really don't need to explain anymore. If you haven't subscribed to my newsletter or to this channel, links are below. Also, prep videos are below as well if you are not my subscriber, so and your first time watching webinars or this webinar, I didn't know that it's coming. So surprise show up. So links are below. If you want to thank me, there is a link to tip jar. And thank you for those who supported me since last webinar or webinar before. I got quite some money for a few lunches and ice creams and coffees. That's really more as like emotional support because that makes that what I do is important for you, and it's important for me as well. We need to give back if we have talent, if we got our life going well, so you can learn painting. Why not to teach other painting? And and also create more of art, because how otherwise people will follow you. I guess if you are watching my videos, you've seen my works. Out of news in Litchfield County, yesterday I visited Art Center for Visual Arts, 5 Points. That's great gallery in Torrington, and UConn, University of Connecticut Old Campus now belongs to that organization, and I probably will be teaching workshop there. They have trails which they just opened recently. I think like, I don't know, like 50 or 40 or 90 acres of land around, and they have very beautiful farm next to it, like I would say maybe about a mile away. So if you're coming to Connecticut, we may have a workshop as a group outdoors plein air there. But if you would like to learn brushwork and again step by step looking at my work, I'll look at your work, and I will control whatever you want me to control. But I will teach you and explain you in all possible details how I create my works. You'll see that happening in front of you, and you'll see that happening on mine and your canvases. All right, that's enough, I think. We'll have a break in the middle, I think like in an hour and 10. We'll have a break. I'll answer your questions. Please ask them. I'll be also answering questions possibly during this webinar because I'll be watching your live messages, live text here on YouTube. And second part will be shorter, I think about 40 minutes, 35 minutes altogether. Should be about like under 2 hours. And you can watch it later. It's up to you. All right. So that's it. Let's start. Okay, let's start. I guess we're ready, and I'm sure you watched the videos. Otherwise, you can find links below this video on YouTube, or you received links in email, which I sent everyone sometime during the night, like late night yesterday. So subscribe to my channel. If you like my video, at the end, please like it. And if you want to donate, links are all in description. But let's start. Just want to remind you we're working in 2 layers, and because it's winter scene, it has its own specifics. Not maybe it's that obvious, but usually first layer, I'm not talking about this yellow wash on top, first one. So first layer is thin, painted with stiffer brushes because the whole surface is a kind of like rough still. It's dry, and with the softer brushes, it will be just hard to apply any paint on it. And if you want to go with thicker paint, then you're in trouble because it's too much of paint. So first layer is thin. We usually start with lights, finish with darks, and then we start with darks, our second layer, and finish with lights. First layer, we are working with the bigger shapes, like all this sky area as a one color and value. So shapes are defined by outline, the same value, maybe a similar texture, and color, like average color. This is shape. This is shape behind the house. And the shadow side is a shape as well, right? So this part is a shape. Even though there are many dots, this part is shape, and they're slightly different. And of course, this part is a kind of shape with some division by these. Okay, let's start. I guess we're ready, and I'm sure you watched the videos. Otherwise, you can find links below this video on YouTube, or you received links in email, which I sent everyone sometime during the night, like late night yesterday. So subscribe to my channel. If you like my video, at the end, please like it. And if you want to donate, links are all in description. But let's start. Just want to remind you we're working in 2 layers, and because it's winter scene, it has its own specifics. Not maybe it's that obvious, but usually first layer, I'm not talking about this yellow wash on top, first one. So first layer is thin, painted with stiffer brushes because the whole surface is a kind of like rough still. It's dry, and with the softer brushes, it will be just hard to apply any paint on it. And if you want to go with thicker paint, then you're in trouble because it's too much of paint. So first layer is thin. We usually start with lights, finish with darks, and then we start with darks, our second layer, and finish with lights. First layer, we are working with the bigger shapes, like all this sky area as a one color and value. So shapes are defined by outline, the same value, maybe a similar texture, and color, like average color. This is shape. This is shape behind the house. And the shadow side is a shape as well, right? So this part is a shape. Even though there are many dots, this part is shape, and they're slightly different. And of course, this part is a kind of shape with some division by these posts. Road is shape as well. And these smaller shapes like this, or shape of the roof, so they are different. They have some kind of unique quality. And then with the bigger size brushes, I talk about size like 6 or 4. So like this. This is number 6. It's a bristle, a stiffer one. And then with the second layer, we're going to work with over the wet surface. So no any of the open, much of the open canvas or particularly white canvas is left. We don't have any white now, but if we start working on white canvas, there should be no white canvas left. And we work over already kind of over the paint, which is fresh, and then softer brushes will work well. All right, let's start. Of course, I'm using paper towel, and you will not be able to see much how I clean my brush. If you're taking workshop, you will see everything. If you're, especially my VIP workshops, which I have almost already my studio for that. And during class, of course, I'll be emphasizing on that. So what we're going to do first, I think a snow scene is something which really calls to have lightest light to be defined right at the beginning and darkest dark. So where we have lightest light. If we're not talking about the wall of the house there, which is light enough, I probably need to push it back, so I'm not going to make it that prominent, and edges will be softer. Okay, of the house itself. But this area of the snow is light, and this part here is light. So let me just emphasize that. And it's not, yes, I think I'll go with a smaller brush just to have the camera tone, so that thing which can tell we cannot go much lighter than that. We cannot even a little bit going a little bit lighter than that. And if we're using white, we're not going with absolutely white to white. So we're going with some mixture. And since it's white, I don't go with thin paint application. This will have a little spot stained like that. So we know that this is our, nothing will be painted lighter than that. That's our capacity of going light, right? So I will leave for snow, especially for sky, we need to have a separate brush. For snow, snow is not that absolutely clean. There are a few spots which are absolutely white, but everything else is it's again a grayish, bluish, brownish areas. And what's our darkest dark? Of course, I'm taking different brush. I think our darkest darks are somewhere in this shadow side. There are many branches in front of it. I'm not going to paint them first and then to go and paint those darks in between. I'll treat it as a one big shape. And what color I should use? It definitely looks brownish, or even like a brownish violet. If I go with a color variety, I'm not going to use many colors, but 2 should be sufficient. Okay. And now let me kind of define it. So we'll go with a purple, and we'll go with a brown. You see how thin is my paint? It's a distant shape, so presence of blue is very possible. Do I want to leave a space for this tree trunk? I think that could be a problem. Let's just remove it. I think with thicker paint application I'll be able to go around it. So my burnt umber. Of course there are more colors there. There is some green could be found, and like dark blue, etc. So, all right, and next thing I want to do here is this tree, and it's on, I don't see much of a blue. That's probably a lack of this photograph quality, but let me just define it here, and I can make it slightly lighter later. If in this layer I got too much dark, I can always kind of remove excessive paint like this, and even correct the value. I think there should be some, yeah, some connection here. It's not the problem if I add a slightly of a little amount of green over there. It's not good. A habit of touching big shape. We can make this or tree taller or shorter. Overlapping usually works pretty well. So what else do we have? We have here this post in shade, and there must be brownish as they're grayish. But I'm not going to go with the blue because blue adds effect of distance. So we can start with brown and then add a small amount of greens and blues in it. If you don't know how to do them, maybe you need to put aside your painting, grab your sketchbook, of neutralizing that warmth, and start drawing it. I hope my medium will help this paint settle quickly enough. You know, it's really not a big shape on one side. At the same time, I don't want it to be much on the way when I'll be painting snow. And all right, so we got our very dark spots, and we have a kind of idea where it will be our white. I think now it's not a bad idea to start working on blues. Because of mid-tone we have with our imprimatur, it's a little bit lighter than the mid-tone, but that's, I think we can leave it like that for now. I'm taking number, I think it's number 4 of a bristle, and I'm not trying to go through all color variety for the sky. Okay, and but sky, definitely cerulean blue family of colors will work well. Trying not to go with a plain, just adding one pigment. Need to make it slightly more interesting. You know, be very careful with cadmium lemon. Very intense. When you add it to blue, it turns it greenish, and our sky is kind of greenish, right? And in value, we have it, can compare it to our snow part, kind of like a sunlit snow. I think it's fine. Because it's bristle, I can press on my canvas strong enough. If there were any clouds I observed, of course adding cloud can be a good idea, but could be a bad idea as well when there are so many details. Again, I'm working pretty much like with the 2 colors, adding a small amount of green, and I cannot say much that the horizon, towards the horizon, all this area is much, getting much like purplish or darker. It's a little too early. It's about, what, 4 something in February. All right, look at my video. There I see sky. The blue part looks darker. And when I look at my painting here in front of me, it doesn't look that dark. Why I'm going thick with the paint application at first? Because I know that area will not interfere at all with any other parts. There are no objects in front. You know, it's so I can go with thick paint, and then I can go over it again if needed. All right, maybe this looks dark just because it's surrounded, and bluer because surrounded by this yellow. Also, I have a temptation to go over that area, which is transparent, and you know, it's not just single paint there. So there are many different kind of like colors there, and texture is quite tricky. Shall I treat it as a shape, as a single shape? Probably. We don't have white canvas. That makes things slightly easier. But let me get, kind of give it some color in there. And I can go there with purples or with browns. Browns are easier to add. Let me go with the cleaner colors like purples, but not crazy purple. Kind of like slightly desaturated purples. And let's see, I'm not sure. I see on my palette it looks pretty blue and pretty dark. If I squint, I can say it's not really that light also. So let's kind of define shape. Some parts of those branches are more open. I can add, there are some sky openings. Again, if I was doing that over just white canvas, I would not be able to afford to leave those spots in between brush strokes. But here we go. It's really not a problem when we have imprimatura. You see, when I mix color, on the side I leave some paint, not much mixed. Again, adding second color and going with a dry brush. Creates this effect. I'm not a big, I should not really think about the effect right from beginning, but I'm sure many of you learned a lot and you want to learn effects. Because if you know a lot and painting still doesn't look good, you think like, I need to go to something else to make painting look cool. All right, I'll leave it like this. Again, no white canvas. And if you feel that you want to already create some openings, it's really big temptation, but I wouldn't really do that. It's first a layer. It's a very special layer which gives us an idea of values. If you feel that the value is really distracting you, yes, maybe you can go and do those things. There are no sharp edges within this shape. You can get rid of that yellow, which already starts looking unnatural. I don't see much yellow when I look at the reference. When I look at my painting, yellow looks cool, but when I look at the reference, there is no yellow. But there is definitely some little bluish purplish veins. Don't worry about this blue. Here we can get rid of it easily. You know, close to that area but more flat is this roof, which has some solar panel on it. And why won't I make it slightly warmer? Make sure it doesn't really get exactly that total copy of that color and value. You know, texture, anyway, it's flat. Will make it different from those branches. And if you feel that it's too much, you always can add something like green. Tiny, tiny hue of green. All right, my brush doesn't have much of paint on it. But the first layer, it's fine. Again, that's exactly what we need, what we want. I think before I start working with blues here, let me finish all that area, because the lower part is all about snow. The top part mainly about the sky, and of course lower part is about sky as well through reflections. So we know this is not going to be my sky brush. I'm not going with any bright colors like with a kind of burnt sienna. I'm going with burnt umber. Is it turning to be too warm? We'll see. Most important, again, we are accurate with values. But this area look fine. You see, we're not going as with absolutely thin transparent paints as we work on a fall scene. We add white, especially for distant objects, because they look bleached slightly. And there are, at least in this area, I don't see any deep shadows. Light here, in fact, is almost straight, barely like from, if you look at the shadow here, you see the sun is right behind me. If you look at these trees, it's a little bit more from the right side behind me. So now it's a nice moment when you really can press hard on your brush and try to minimize amount of brush strokes. Try not to go, once you found right value, try not to go many times over the same spot. And your shapes should be in your drawing. When you're outside painting, you should not really much care about shapes. If it's your study work, if it's not your competition piece. Of course, when you're doing competition piece, you worry about everything. All right, let's make this edge slightly smoother. And we have here some part which has, you know, in between very, I see some blue. I know we can apply blues later, but since that color which easily gets contaminated, again, I call it contaminated because it loses its purity. So it's not going to be much of a blue, but rather grayish blue. Let me add now browns on top of it. And I want to go here with more of a raw sienna. Again, even though it's like one color, it's a little too simple. Let's have some other color on the side. Don't forget to add white to make in value. Yes, that's close and nice. Make in value more accurate. You don't see these darks anymore as very dark, right? Okay, cleaning my brush. And now I can go with cleaner. For those who like these brush strokes, the choppy ones, but with pressure, again, I cannot explain you what pressure I'm applying. Again, that's subject for VIP workshops, 2 students, 1 instructor, who is obviously me. I can really show you, holding your hand, what's the pressure, what's direction, how you grab your paint from your palette. All right, I think we got it good enough. I think all this area before I apply there any blues is calling for extension. At the same time, if I apply there too much blue with a thick application, it's you know, it's all that area looks very patchy. What shall I do? I think the only way is to make it simplified, and I will go with a thin, with a thinner application. Of this paint of ultramarine blue and cadmium orange. It's not warm, it's not purple, it's not cold, so I can easily turn it lighter, and when I add white it starts looking great as well. But overall design of those patches, you again, if you feel you are not strong in this game, just grab pencil and piece of paper and create that design if you care. If you care with this painting, when you do that many times, it will come. But if you need to create better painting today, your drawing, your sketching will give you a nice blend. All right, looks a little odd for me, but it added definitely some variety. It looks like here I may want to add in my thin layer right. So snow. What else before snow we can do here? Snow again, it will be loading with, even for the first layer, there will be a good amount of titanium white. So why won't we go over those areas which are in mid-tone? So I didn't really make design for this road. I see it's kind of in value. It's kind of like more pinkish and lighter than these trees above. So more of orange and white, and maybe a small amount of alizarin. But in value, in clean color is not that clean, just slightly this, slightly that. So why won't I try to apply, as usually for the first layer, more of a lighter colors first, then we'll go with the darks on top of it, because again, layer is very thin. Let's even here make it not boring and uniform. So shadows like that, I think we need to go like this design of shapes. It actually looks for the shadow, not for the light, because what's this spot would be from? I think I'll need to redesign it again soon. All right, more of a white somewhere and more of an orange somewhere. Overall looks pretty warm, but it's really not, right? And same road then goes up. Let's add a little bit more of a yellow. I think it looks slightly warmer in this part. Maybe there is some sand. Yeah, I'm sure there is a sand. Yes, I remember this road. I've never been in that house. And if it's too much, again, first layer, have freedom, wipe off excess of paint. And now this part is in shade more of a blue, but nothing crazy as a blue. Again, look at your sketch. If you need to find the way how to do the road. I remember we spoke with Susie Baker. She was using one of my paintings as a reference. She asked my permission for that. And she was explaining, like in Texas where she is from, where she lives. So there are roads and rolling hills. They require to create this kind of design, how a road shows up in different parts. So why want to do these shadows in the foreground as well? I think we have pretty good color for that. This indefinite color. It's this is not the snow. It's not shadow on the snow. This is a shadow on the road. And since it's shadows which traveled quite a while, all these edges are soft enough. Again, not much to worry about, just to notice that for future. And you can be very creative. Quite often on edges there will be some warmer sides. Again, a good idea for the next layer. All right. Next, I told you about the greenish stone wall. A lot of lichen is growing in New England. It's humid here, not far from the ocean. And in evening light, it looks great. It's not just the greenish. There is some orange and green and yellow ochre. And again, let's make it pale. It's not really that bright. It's not summer scene. When we have a lot of bright, everything here is muted. Shall I go with slightly with more of a green? Why not? And also how far I want to extend it. We have here these posts. I'm not going to do them now. And shadow part. Adding a little bit of color because the shadow exposed to the sky. And deeper shadow, like between trees. If it's close enough, they look brownish because there is in deeper shadow there is no much of a impact, like chromatic impact from the sky. You know, the whole texture of this stone wall is rough. So it doesn't have to be all uniform. Snow has definitely less. No, it has some bumps in it as well, actually. All right. So what else do we have here? I think it's, yes, we're missing here something, right? This is the wall of the house. Why won't I signify that? And I would take my smaller brush, if I have any, like size 2. I think this is size 2. And I have some temptation to do this cast right under the roof. Shall I? Or I shouldn't? I'm afraid I will forget about that, especially when you're outside and painting. It could be, there are so many things to watch. And at the end you think like you have everything next to you and you see and you will correct. It's still easy to forget things. Let me just make it. We usually go with kind of yellowish, greenish color, at least in the beginning, and then change it. It's usually not purple because under the overhang there is no impact from the sky. I said I want to go with some greenish or yellowish color. Of course, if I did that shadow, I want to be very accurate. It doesn't look any yellowish. Wow. Afraid to put too much. Oh, you know, because of the overall, all this area is still yellow. I cannot see that yellow in there. All right, that should be good enough. Are we getting close to paint snow? Yes. But before that, let me see, is there anything else I need to work? Yes, there is actually leaves, grass here in the woods. And there is some grass here. I'm not going to do many of those patches, but a couple of those kind of like bushes, brushes I will add. So it's quite easy. Happens when we go and put that kind of yellow thing, and then it looks crazily yellow. And if you put too much of white to, say, to this, it may start looking too much pinkish. Where we have pink? Then we have pink on this slope, right? There's some shadows there too. All right. Don't even know what exactly is growing there. Again, don't worry about colors. If you see a little bit of red and this and that, we'll correct that. You can barely touch it somewhere just to make sure if it's not gonna put you into much of trouble. And definitely here is very, very bright, almost like almost just yellow, not yellow ochre, but real yellow in here. Shall I go with that bright yellow now? When it's lack of time, and it's, again, strategy doesn't really tell you like, oh, it's gonna be a problem. I guess you can go, and it feels like here with a raw, burnt umber sienna. That's not a bad idea to go right now. And here, so these are bases of our trees, remember them? And towards the top, angle changes. Here there is some grass growing there too, but it's not anymore that well lit. Oh boy, are we close to work on our blues and on the snow? I think we're getting close. I think this time could be a good time to take a break for half an hour. We've been really painting. After I take this little break, you can stop the video now and then come back because the broadcast will be continued. You still can ask questions or you can catch up. It's up to you. But I would recommend to take, after like 30-35 minutes of painting, some break to clean up your stress, dump your kind of worries if you are feeling a little overwhelmed. Okay, but I will continue moving like just very soon. I think overall we need to like focus on something which we need to do on site, and most important is our first layer with few touch-ups, which lets you to leave painting site and being able to finish things when you get next time or in studio if you want to finish this study or start new painting from this study. Time for blues, right? Still working with a stiff brush because this all surface is still not very smooth unless you're working on oil primed canvas. Do I need to have a clean brush? Absolutely clean brush? No, I think if you didn't use this brush for any greens, it's fine. I have a lot of stuff here, but believe me, we're not going to work with a clean blue. We'll have a pile of relatively clean blue, and I don't want it to be gray. Yeah. I'm sure this camera shows these blue, super blue, super blue, super glue. All right, so how we're going to work on this part. I will start with this area, which is safe enough. It's not close to any like focal point parts. And I'll be working, not covering entire surface with this paint. I'm going pretty thick. Wow, it's so intense. And photograph probably does the same thing. And I don't want this layer to be indefinitely wet, because I'm going to paint on top of it with thicker paint application. And I would create some other part, and I want it to be slightly more purplish. Okay. And I need to kind of create design, like of, let's say I have here design of the shadow, so how far the shadow will go. If there any continuation, like does it go like that maybe? And shall I really consider this part to be in shadow as well? These definitely are shadows which are from trees, like behind me. See this space division, unequal. Now this looks so unnatural, and right? It's hard not to really look at this part and say, "Oh my God, shall I correct it the right way?" No, no, it's not time yet. I have to tell you. It's not time yet. And going farther, and sometimes you will get lost where you have shadow, where you have the sun, because let's say here there is no correspondence. But again, it's first layer. You can wipe off if you made a mistake. You can wipe off area of that should not have shadow side. I'm trying to make this mix of purple, and it's happening way too dark. You know, these are way too sharp edges. I think it's just like jumping into my eyes. Like it shouldn't be like that. On this side we have plenty of shadow as well, but it's going to be slightly warmer because of this part accepts a lot of blue from the sky. In this part there are some trees next to it. So let's finish this part. There's this tree which we moved, will cast its own shadow, but I think there is slope goes down. So we have this turn, then we have another turn, and this tree is actually sitting like right here. Now I think I got too much of a paint, which is kind of grayish. Let me add slightly warmer. Let's add greens and browns, maybe even orange into it. Because in woods you don't see those clean blues as photograph sometimes shows. So my brush gets here a lot of browns, blue at the same time, purple and brown, even yellow. it's a rather pattern. It's doesn't mean there are some parts may look bluer, but everything goes there with the soft edges. You know, I cannot wait to go and create their color variety. I think now it's like a puzzles coming together. I want to see them. I want to solve it as soon as possible. So now we can really see that those spots which I left here will be light, almost white. And overall design. So shall I have here a lighter snow? Maybe it's too peripheral, or I can make it if I think it's too peripheral and don't want to put so much bright. I always can go with the softer edges, and that snow will not be any big trouble for me. This part is fine because this creates the whole diamond shape design in this area. I take another brush. It doesn't have to be a small one. I need it. I'll take one. You see, purples here are so different than purples here. Kind of more of a pink. It kind of reflects maybe some, I don't know, pinkish branches above it. And I need to clean my the palette. I'm sorry, and I'll be back just in a second. Well, I didn't take long. It took like less than a minute for me. I love my designed palette, which I create specifically for webinars, and I can clean it very quick. I did not really remove all paints, so I put as part of them mixed all together. We call it fusion. There are many different paints together, and sometimes we need that gray. It could be somewhere here and there. It's kind of warm gray usually, kind of yellowish, brownish, and greenish at times. So, and it also kind of clears the mind when you take that little break. So let me work on that purples in the distance, because purples here and there cannot be the same. There's an air, and for me its angle is different and reflex impact is different, so it's going to be, as I see, cleaner. And also talking about the dark parts, we have trees here, you probably still remember, right? And to signify them, I can still put some kind of like lines here, so we won't forget. And also they cast shadows behind them is quite beautiful, especially behind these with kind of purple, and here are blue on the white snow and purple above that. So now sky doesn't look crazy. It looks not enough yellowish or greenish, as you can see on reference image. Again, there is an issue with a color presentation through camera. Human eyes see colors and values differently, especially colors. And yes. So let me mix again, and if I had cobalt blue, I would probably go with cobalt blue because color of it is cleaner. And let me get slightly alizarin permanent, and this seems to be a good enough purple. So you can see right in front of the house that purple is really looks as a purple. All right, much better, isn't it? And there is a crown of the tree, creates some shadow there. Definitely something in here. Some parts on this side. And again, remember there are some also areas of that grass. It's not even like many parts are not just shadow. It's rather like a sliding light, like half shadow, and not many of those parts, those purples. No, slightly different. Now again, that color right can be added later. The values of it is different. But definitely some like a right angle, good angle for the snow creates that light, bright, nice, with a nice edge on one side. Feeling of shining snow. I think I should work on it pretty soon. All these areas here also have some parts which for me are just asking me, calling me to put this purple here. Don't want to much put of light here. I'll add later, soon. But in values, this shouldn't be very bright here. All the whole painting is guiding us, going along the road to that area. Also, right on edge. Of course, we'll see there's some color shift, orange or purple. And if I choose those areas where we don't have much of any other objects in front, like bushes, even that should not be a problem. Like this part, I can make it a very bright, as in values as close as the house itself. The house and this snow will be different, right? This will be more on the orange side, and the house is on green side. Nice, like complementary colors, and no any chance of making big mistake. So we kind of broke the road, and really hard to say where's what. Again, that yellow now start looking in between. I need to get rid of it. I'm a little bit lost with my shadows here. That's okay. I can always take my oil pastel and go over it. Kind of like check my drawing. But right now, let me get to the moment when I can really have a full load of paint on my brush. And again, it's just not one mix. I want to create one. Shall I go with, it should be tiny, super tiny amount of yellow if I'm adding some yellow. And let's do it here, and you'll see how we later will deal with that. Will it be a problem, or it will be not the problem at all? Why not to cadmium lemon? So now it feels this snow is really bright. A very similar area on this side. Kind of wraps this tree. Let's say when you're painting at the sunset, light will be probably gone, and we've been painting this all together for whatever, like 45-50 minutes already, without composition and all other talks. It would be more efficient if I would be more efficient if you had no need to explain things. So part of my brain is constantly working on delivering, translating actually from language, from one language to another language. So right on edge, it's great to create now slight shifts. Kind of our first layer is pretty much done now, and it's usually a good time to check drawing part, to check if we did any mistakes. If you feel that you want to do some revisions, like before that, like in colors, I don't think that's a big issue, but I would not do any revision of colors. I'd rather now correct my drawing. I would not really worry about if somewhere shadows are not dark enough. That's absolutely fine. And I really like working with oil pastel. I would not, I mean, depending on painting, you can use different ones. I have one which is a bronze color. Let's see, will it work or not? Let me now show where stem of the tree is. So this oil pastel push the paint, adding some amount of pigment. Try not to get scared by the view as your painting looks like now, because it's like when ladies, they put some makeup before they put eyelashes and lipstick with those significant accents. Everything seems to be like kind of like it's not pretty yet, but experienced makeup designer or our beautiful ladies who do that, they understand. Oh no, they kind of think about, here is a color of the skin and it looks great, even though like somebody, like some man would look into the room like say, oh, are you going to be ready in a few minutes? She would say, yes, I'll be ready, because she knows how that stage, intermediate stage, looks. So we need to gain experience with that. Those little things as cast shadows, as these branches, overall texture, plays a significant role in perception of the view. At the same time, it's not that much of time consuming. Yeah. So let's say I have here this stem, and let's say we have here this sticks, posts. That wasn't that difficult, and also sometimes you can add it here. I'm not scraping it. I don't really like working with oil with palette knife, because with palette knife you can scrape too much, especially if your canvas wasn't toned. You can scrape it down to white. It's not always a good idea. Also, taking a little break, stepping off your painting and looking at it from the distance also can give you fresh look and understanding if you are missing any problematic parts. So now let me see what my road is doing. I have one oil pastel which is brownish, which is not having much of pigment. Let's say it's really hard to understand what's going on here, right? So this is, so it looks like the road edge is here, and it comes like this, and then it makes turn, and here turns like that, giving some extra line here. It gets very thin in this area. It's okay if the curve goes outside, it's just still overall the track of the road goes accurate. So now let me see. I have this kind of light. It creates a very strong diagonal. Do I really want it? I really don't like it, honestly. So let me just make with a shadow. Just maybe I should have just very little opening here, and create a small kind of spot of the light here, and a couple of these posts will be lit. Anything else? No, there are definitely a couple of stems here, which I don't really want to run right from the bottom, but at the top it can be slightly visible. Of course, it's not a cloud. Even if we talk about that mass, it may look like a cloud, but this front mass is not. It has visible stems and branches. All right. So I guess I can work now with with flat. You choose what size you want. I like a size 2. You can go with a smaller, but we need to work faster. So let me start again from the safe distance here. Yes, and also cast shadows here. Yes, I will make it with a thin brush. So many things to remember. Shall I remember these things? Let's just stay focused. I know after like an hour and a half of work outside specifically, and even in studio, we, like after 2 hours, we lose our stamina, start asking, let's have a tea, and let's kind of like, let's talk, let's check what's going on in the world. Just because of we are getting anxiety, you know. Quite often we do that because we don't know what's going on. But if you are staying with me, so you can see what's happening on my canvas, and maybe your fears will go away, because I think we are in a right and kind of stage of our painting is not scary. It's happening not as a mistake, as a normal absolute situation all the time. So now I can be more accurate with colors, adding color variety. So again, we're kind of thinking, if you are outside, how well would you spend your time? What would you do at a particular period of time? So definitely would not worry. We're doing absolutely fine. And again, we are working here on study. Okay, through study we gain through results which we can observe. We commit only time and some paints, which don't think it's a big deal, because a couple of dollars palette, the canvas, even if it's like $10, again, you can make it much better if you're using gesso, like one more layer if you want. I'm adding small amount of green. This part still feels, I think I had to add a little more of that medium glazing, acrylic medium. I think I wiped off too much of it. So now in this part, since we have here some light on the road, on my road here, now, you know, I really, I don't like it going like this way. Let's change it. This is like a rather compositional mistake, and maybe I need to change something here as well. It's just like aligned, absolutely aligned. To do it like this, like that. Create some. It could be slightly better. I cannot really explain now all things I'm doing. It just can give you an idea. You need to observe. I just will say light, and maybe what color, what paint I'm using. And if I see any mistakes, I can explain what exactly I'm trying to correct. Okay, trying to work on this snow part. Very thick paint application at this time, or this moment. And we have here some very well lit parts of snow along the road. And having a couple of different brushes, like smaller size, could be helpful. I think this is way too, I think this brown doesn't really help much. I need to have some blues to paint snow in shadow side. In like in shadow areas. I think that was an improvement. This area is also got its own shadow. And this is open area. Rather working maybe with a purple. Small amount of light can add some design here. You know, when the road gets cleaned and cars passing by, there are pieces of the snow. They kind of like a little like crumbles. Well, I have a smaller brush in my hand. Let me do those shadows from these big stems. One of them is right here, and that's darkest one. And it's almost like a violet and purple. Things like this create very strong light effect. I'm sure you can see that now. And also we have here one shadow, and that's also like goes like this. And of course it's crosses this stone wall. And all other parts are not that intense. Feels like there is some shadow side here. It's kind of hard to navigate between many things. So this, let's say this shadow here is way too have very strong hard edge. Let's say some parts of this guy here is a purple. It's not all the way the same as some students overlook it when shadow goes over different spots. Their shadow quite often could be, they do it uniform, but it shouldn't, because it goes over grass, it will be one value in color. When it goes over snow, it's a different color and value. Then I'm trying to be cool and nice with shadows and their shapes. When you're outside, don't really even think about it much. Your goal there is to survive, not to grab colors which are more accurate than photograph can present you. Your camera, but take reference image. Definitely you need to take it. Just don't rely on it as a source of your all information. Quite often when you're outside, you see so many things like that, and you start really appreciating that you've been painting outside because of that's quite often you're outside and think like, oh my God, what's going on? And then you come home like, oh, I love what I've seen there. Oh, there is another thing which I don't remember how I painted, but I painted that. And really photographs, again, cannot give you that. Okay, I think we need to take now a break. I could answer your questions if you have any, and then we'll continue working and finish it as if we were outside. I don't think we have like time to finish the full painting if you were working just in studio. Like 3 hours is not an option for us, right? Okay, let's take a break. All right, here's the break, which we're all waiting, and I would like to read some questions. And there are just a couple of questions which you ask, and I will have some questions to you as well, and I hope you will help me. So along the way, I was answering hellos, and it's so, it's so nice to see you here coming to live presentation. So John was asking what medium I was using as like gel on my palette, and in my video of materials it's there. It's called just give me a second. Yes, so this is Galkit gel. I don't know, can you see it well or not? That's a product by Gamblin, and I really use it for the second layer and actually for first layer as well. Outside it helps layer to dry and settle fast enough, and it's not running, and so it's very hard to make paint thin, so then it becomes slippery. Of course it's a medium, but it really works well. But at times when you need to saturate surface during the first layer and your canvas is still dry and if it's not oil primed, quite often this is not enough. You need to put so much gel, and then it becomes very thin. So it's much easier to use Gal Kit Light or Gal Kit Medium mixed 50-50 with Gamsol or any other odorless mineral spirit. Also, I have a question from Jane, Jane Wolf. Thank you, Jane, for supporting me, and I've received like several times some like financial support, and those who also did so, thank you so much. She was asking what brand oil pastel I am using for the trees. It lays down beautifully. In fact, I'm not using it much for color. In magazine International Artist, I think like 3 years ago, there was a demo. Of course, it wasn't video. It was like pictures of the processing, how I use oil pastel. And I use, when I need to apply drawing in the beginning, I usually go with cheaper ones, which has more wax and very little of pigment. And I think it's called Expressions or something. You buy the cheapest one, but it should be not just regular pastel, but oil pastel. And then for when I was trying to add color, so that amount of pigment which is in cheap pastel doesn't really work well. So I've been using pastel, which is like a new pastel. So the kind of good brand, and the price of that is usually like $4 to $5 per stick. So I like that, like a raw sienna stick. And also for nocturnes, I really recommend it to buy a green, like cold green, like viridian green pastel. And generally, there are no more questions. I want you to put in comments, please. In comments later or now during this live chat. So is it very slow? Is it too much I'm explaining in the beginning, or you want to listen to that? So because for me it's always a question, shall I spend time explaining layers, explaining strategy of painting overall, or it's just like delays and makes people impatient? And also again, if you feel that, are you going to watch, are you kind of more for 1 hour presentation in 2 parts, maybe within 2 weeks or within a week, 2 times published, or you're good to have it published at once up to 2 hours, and then of course you can be free, you can watch today for an hour, then if you need to go somewhere or it's taking too long, too late, you can watch second part maybe in the morning. So which way it works best, so I can be more flexible, because when I do these webinars, I kind of learn what are needs of my students. So when we do something like more precise, more like with less explanations, edited videos with more I spent extra time listening to what I said, organizing that information, and then also making it maybe faster, not repeating myself, etc. So put in your comments answers to these questions. One is, shall we do 2 like 1 hour sessions separately, or you want it at once as a Thursday night? And the first question is there any other way to make it faster, better, more efficient, like skipping a strategy, which I often explain right in the beginning. All right, so that's kind of for now. We had a break. I hope you had some coffee or whatever, tea, or used bathroom. So now we must be ready to start again and watch second part. So break is over. I still have my palette like this. Again, my break was short enough, but that was enough to switch to something else. And there are many things which I might correct. And again, when there is a limited time, we're in that healthy, usually, amount of stress, which just propels us. So we're not in a situation like, oh my God, so everything looks bad. What I want to do, since it's hard for me to navigate through all these details, I will start from the, probably from the center. We'll go up over this like house and what's behind it and what's above it, and also we'll go down, because overall the whole story brings us to this house. And I mean, if I will correct this first or the road, it's not going to affect much. All colors and values have been pretty well already defined there, and I think we just need to work a little bit on design and slight correction of edges, maybe adding some lines, etc. So how about sky? Sky looks good for me. I don't want to really much correct it unless something will be happening when I will be working on this tree line. So again, if you need to do any, again, correction, you are not happy, you're taking like a new brush, and most likely your paint is still wet there, unless you're finishing another day, and you can soften those edges. And you're taking for your like these trees, maybe you want to take a fan brush. That could be helpful. You can work not only like this way, but with edge. That also could be helpful. So you kind of go with the sky over the trees and with tree over the sky. So you need to go a few times, and you don't need to take a small brush, but it's nice to have a softer brush. Obviously, from now we're working with a softer brush, and filbert would work well. I should mention that. I don't have any filbert, but I have this inexpensive brush, which is synthetic. And let me see if I'll be able to correct all this area. So we're trying to work quick enough, and I don't see any specific dark lines I want to add there, except of maybe like this part where you have this. You don't really need to. You see here it's kind of turned greenish. So if you want to add there, here and there, a couple of things, again, that shouldn't be much concern when you work outside, like on winter day with a limited time. But say now it's not a bad idea to do a few lines here and there. And I can actually continue this line down to here. And I like, in fact, going from the bottom, but this time I've been thinking about the top. Again, you're applying small amount of paint, okay? It's not thin, it's rather kind of dry brush. It's not liquidy or anything like that. And I will add here some spots which I want to be more yellow, ochre, and orange. Because of, you see at the sunset quite often under specific angle, like bark starts shining surprisingly. And also maybe I need to correct this. It looks good. And then after I did the whole drag of the paint, now I go and work on little different parts of it. How to do this direction? So again, through drawing, draw more often trees from photograph, from references, and you'll make it better. Overall, your skills will grow without practice. I like that example. I say you cannot be a good basketball player if you're just reading books or watching how others play. You know, that can be helpful if you're practicing, if you're painting often, and then you watch how good players work. Then you learn and grab from what you see. But if you don't play, this will be just like a show. All right, maybe it's too early, but again, trying to fit many things. Okay, value-wise, this is not bad. Again, I'm kind of almost like a rolling my brush, going with adding a little bit more of a color here and there. You know, like across some branches, shadows from other branches go and they create those little dots on it. Have you ever thought about that before? I'm sure you did. So there is some slightly more of a purple on top, on the top, kind of like a pinkish purple. Don't do all that area just with one color. Leave some space in between and move on. And even here, there is some space in between branches. Could be seen. Looks like not just purple, some yellow is there as well. Okay. Sometimes you can go even like with a cadmium lemon yellow in some parts. Don't really use it too much though, but in some areas it really could be helpful. So you know, with this tree, which look more like trees now, feel things look and feel better, right? Don't them? Too much of a blue here. And I tried not to make it solid. What I need to do now, I'll try to put some sky openings, extra like with a little bit more, and it's not the same blue as over these trees. It's slightly darker one. How dark, you will see that in like through application, empirically, as they say, right? Of course, when you work here, you also kind of create that outline of the top of those trees behind the house, and these trees, those distant ones. And now if you feel that your skyline is not perfect, you can go over again if you feel, but I think we are good again. And of course more and more details could be added. Do we need to? I doubt that we need to. I have here one area which just caught my attention. I do not know what's going on here. And when you look at the reference image, okay, really it's not very soft, but behind branches really nothing's going on. Do I want a more definition there? No, we just don't want to leave that spot. And in fact, this goes slightly lower, like this. I add that greenish, like there's some evergreens growing. It gives very good addition to that yellow ochre, raw sienna mixes. And I do not really understand what's going on here too. When you feel you added too much, again, you're working with pretty thick paints at this stage, so no issue if you need to do some corrections. You may also add some, maybe a window. I don't like just window over there. I think like more centrally positioned one could be a better idea. You want to make sure that your architectural elements have a nice rectangular shape. All right, I'm not going to correct that again over time. I can spend more time looking at my painting and find some imperfections, which I will decide, are those imperfections really help my painting or really hurt them. Right. I think my stone wall went way too far and pretty kind of straight. I need to kind of like restrain it somehow and to have more light. That corner seems to be a little too dark now. Now too yellow. Okay. Doesn't seem to be a big issue now. Just a little too dark. This will go almost like with a straight paint right from palette. If we know that the right there, we can mix it efficiently with whatever's there. All right, so now shape of my stone wall still not as good as I wanted it to be, and partially because it's just too dark. And what I'll add some green there because of lichen. Even though it's light in some parts, but it's rocks, they're grayish, and lichen gives them some color. There is a shadow crosses it, and that shadow is very dark. Maybe this is too much, but something close to that. Because compared to snow, stone wall is much darker. And on this side, the same thing. I think we need to finish this work today. I don't want to leave it for next time. For someone it's too much, they always can come back and watch this video and finish it. And that's and you can leave your questions when if it's not like a long time ago broadcasted video. I'll try to watch questions and answer them. We need more light in front of the. I think I'll go from top down in front of the stone wall. Not enough. Maybe I should go with cadmium lemon. It's more opaque. That's better. Seems to be at first too much, but it's not really. Same thing I want to do with this stem. And why not to do very similar thing here as well. The yellow ochre actually is enough here. And if you have a smaller size brush, you always can go also with a crossing, with a cross brush stroke, but be accurate if you need support for your hand. Something like a mauler stick would be a good help for you. I often need that. All right. So I like how these greenish colors look in here. And also we have here this hemlock tree, which is supposed to be lit by the sun. At the same time, since it's still evergreen tree, it's supposed to have some green. Will it be on top or on the bottom? I cannot say. This photograph really doesn't show much. Let's add some green, which is cool enough. It could be grabbed from the top. Oh, on this video it looks awfully green. So let's add a little bit of orange. And the bottom, we can go more with the brown. No blues, remember? Not supposed to be. And here in between branches, like here, it could be also be brownish. If you feel that should be some reflex from the sun, it doesn't have to be warm. But again, blue doesn't really give a lot of reflex. If it was a spruce tree on top, quite often there could be some cones. Even a little highlight. No, I think it's too much, isn't it? It's too much. Yeah, that's good. All right. I think we're pretty good with the house. Shall I change the roof color and values? I think it looks pretty decent. And of course, if I had time, I would kind of try to do kind of work on outline of these stems and make them thinner and slimmer. But honestly, we don't have, right? You have, because you can watch it again, but I don't have time. So what do we have in here now? We have some area which is in shade. And what color is that? I really like how purple works there. What other color which works well with purple is raw sienna. And not just raw sienna, but kind of greenish part of it. I think I have on my brush way too much of all of this. But that part, remember, it's one of our darkest darks. The only problem is that it's very distant. So I can go there with very, very cautious attempt of doing that area very dark. I'd rather go a little bit with purple. And purple on the right side looks just great. I need to have it more on brown side. Of course, I'm using cadmium orange if I want to have purple using alizarin. All right. Okay, so still, I think we'll do that stem and some suggestion of stems and something growing there, most likely more of hemlock trees. And you see those branches on top. If I make them slightly more visible, I can add some definition to that area. Not too much, not like from the top to the bottom, but it will not feel like a whole mystery here and nobody knows what's there. We give people a suggestion, or viewers or fans, some suggestion what there could be. Again, if it happened that your stems turn to be too thick, you can always go on the side and kind of like with the negative space maneuver. Make it slimmer, whatever you want to do with it. Slimmer, thinner, curved. See, I'm kind of chopping off sides of it. Time is ticking, and trying to compete. It's exactly what's happening when you're outside painting. Trying to compete with time. When you're in studio, like we are today here, as you are, this should not be a big issue. Within plein air, it could be. So more practicing in studio can make you much more efficient artist outside. Sometimes that sky through many branches starts looking bluish. All right. Feels that it's too much contrast when I look at the what you see on the screen. At the same time, you tell me in your comments if it looks inappropriately dark, because what I see and do recording, that's not exactly what you see on screen on YouTube. All right, this is good enough. You know, sometimes I see something which looks terribly blue on your screen, and I look at my painting, I don't see that part. So the camera plays games with me. I want you to understand exactly what I'm doing and see things the way as I see them. Okay, so this part is good. Is there any problem with the road here? Maybe very little. There is all these little things. There should not be a big issue. I think so we're getting there. My stone wall here is not gonna look perfect, as I understand, but it doesn't have to. We just need to give a suggestion that this is stone wall. Again, this looks way too dark here on the video. So what do we have? So shall we do anything with the grass here? I think overall this looks way too bright. Let's add some, not exactly green, but make things slightly softer. I think when I was a kid I painted old Holland, Dutch, whatever, landscapes, and there was some snow and skating fun. I love it. My parents still have that painting. When I was celebrating my 20th birthday, or maybe 18, I had my friends over. I think on photograph over my head is that painting when we've been having a picture with a group of my schoolmates came to celebrate with me after 2 years of graduation. All right, so this seemed to be okay now. I think this part is too lacking. Maybe it's too dark in value. I don't think it should be exactly like that. It's not paved road, which is nice and looks great. But at the same time, I think I need to take a bigger brush now. Oh. And foreground, I want it to be in shadow. At the same time, my biggest concern not to make it too warm, because we're not in South Carolina with a lot of red roads. We have rather here gray pavement. And even adding green could be helpful, because of that's what fights pinks and reds. This looks better. It's still very transparent layer. But I think all this, if I do it with the softer edges, may look much more accurate to what's really is happening usually outdoors. And you know, I told you that there is often some sort of like a light on edges changes its own color. Too much mixing. So it's hard to say. I want it to warm and not warm at the same time. Not too much warm. That's what makes it not that easy to be a teacher, instructor. It's hard to explain what exactly should it be. It's not like a science. It just goes by feeling that it should be slightly greener, but not that green. So it has some red in it. Something like that right next to it. So it works perfectly well. If you look at the reference edges of the road, they're kind of soft because I think like a powder or dust on the road still present. And also, you know, along the road, usually some dirt get disturbed, and it goes to the side of the road. Something like this happens as well. It's not always pretty, nice color reflexes work. There's always some good amount of brown shows up here and there, catching reflexes from whatever part of the landscape is next to it. Could be from stem of trees, could be some merely just dirt on the road. Right, I think we need to finish soon. So what I really like in winter landscape that we can use plenty of thick loaded by paint brush. Brush when we paint snow, because no grass or painting or trees allows us to do that. And you can go with a quite a kind of darker, dirty colors, and then add thicker amount of a cleaner. Let's say like I will do now. And shape it. On photograph it looks awfully blue, which is not. I didn't do these posts yet. I was wondering, do I want to have, like on this edge of the road where we got some sun light, I can go with orange and then with a small amount of green. And you can see what effect it may have. It may actually look like a river at times, right? On a river, we definitely will paint a river in winter time. Not sure actually what we're going to do next week. Definitely idea will come up once a week. We'll be passing by between our webinars. brown and purple. Not much of a blue, maybe small amounts. You want something cooler, we can go with cooler greens. All together with browns, that will create you nice feeling. But look at this reference. Yes, it's dark there, but again, when I'm looking here at my painting, it's way too dark. Don't want it to be that dark, and edges need to be softer. Have plenty of paint, different And remember, I mentioned that I want to do a little highlight of those few posts which are right here. You can do that, of course, when you painting is more dry. Sorry, I'm trying to find a brush which could work well. And also try go with the color intense, maybe almost like cadmium lemon, but of course don't go with just straight. It's opaque paint, it doesn't have much of white. And you can make this, add whatever color you need to add there, and only then add white, but very under very good control, like that. So what's happening here, I think it's too dense, and I would expect there is some, not reflex, yeah, reflects it, light from the sky makes it lighter. And this is like weathered timber, lumber. What I will do, I can break it as well and make it less annoying, because I look at it and I see what you see there, and I really don't like how that thing looks for you. Sometimes we even like go and add, maybe green will work better because it looks awfully blue, again on screen of your monitors. Here, this side of the snow should get reflex from the road. There are many more things could be observed and fixed over the next hour of my work, but overall I don't see any anything which will say, this is absolutely wrong, this needs to be corrected. There could be some improvement, but overall, it's coming out as a decent painting, and I'm pretty happy with it. So let's wrap at this point, and I will do a few more touch-ups. I hope this will be helpful for you to start your practice in winter painting, first in studio and then outdoors at plein air. So I hope you did like this demo. I also did few more touch-ups. This painting will go to one of the shows in, I think we'll go to Susan Powell or to Boston Guild of Artists or Susan Powell Fine Art. Anyway, thank you for being with me. I look, there are no more questions. You all thankful, especially those who came today. And of course, during the next few days, many of you will, many of other people will be watching this video. Also, I have an idea. Many of my webinars, which I did 5 and even I think first one I did 6 years ago, they need to get retired. They are just like quality wasn't good, and I didn't have enough software and money to do it as I do it now. And also cameras and let's say the iPhone wasn't that advanced as I can take a video right now and broadcast it. Speed of internet wasn't great either. So which of my previous webinars you want to be repeated? Of course, not those which are done on plein air because of they are very time sensitive and done uniquely, but those which I painted in studio and you've seen whatever marine scene or winter scene, whatever. So let me know, put it in comments. I'll be waiting for your replies, and if I have a nice reference image, we can do next time webinar based on that one. So the older version will retire and the newer version will show up. Okay, otherwise, thank you all for coming to our webinars, to my webinar Thursday night, 7 p.m. And thank you for being patient. It's a little over 2